Hey, all you Arizona lovers. This is the Finding Arizona podcast. I'm your host, Jose.
And I'm your producer, Brittany.
And here at Finding Arizona podcast, we collect the local stories of all entrepreneurs and from around the valley. So join us at findingarizonapodcast.com, where you can hear every episode and see it as well at
YouTube. Like, subscribe, and comment below who you want to see next on our show. And when you're ready to start your podcast, you found the right spot. Found House, your next podcast production company.
Now, let's get back to the show. Score big with SeatGeek. Whether it's concerts, sports, or live events, SeatGeek has you covered. Use code FindingArizona to get a fantastic $20 discount on your SeatGeek tickets. Catch your favorite live events hassle-free with extra savings. Visit SeatGeek.com and make every experience unforgettable. Welcome back, everybody, to the Finding Arizona podcast. I'm your host, Jose. Every week, we bring in someone very special, and today is no different. Ladies and gentlemen, I would love to introduce Tracy here, who is coming to us from STEP. It is actually a foundation or organization. She's been teaching and educating for the last 25 years, and I would love to just say hello and thank you for joining us, Tracy.
It's great to be here, Jose. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So we're going to get into it a little bit of the services that you provide over at STEP, but I would want to ask you the question that we typically ask everyone on our podcast is, can you give us a little bit of your origin story? I would love to hear how teaching, how education is a big part of your life and your life goals.
Absolutely. Well, my background is actually in oceanography.
Awesome.
So, many years ago, I got a doctorate in oceanography and was teaching programs like Semesters at Sea. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but that's taking college students out, say, on a tall ship for a whole semester out in the ocean. Wow. And then doing a full load of courses out there, often related to oceanography or ocean policy, et cetera. Yeah. And also at the same time, I was also a instructor with Outward Bound and an instructor with NOLS, the National Outdoor Leadership School. And so all of these programs and the thing that I was really attracted to in all of this was the experiential part of that equation.
Sure.
And really, when you take anybody, whether they're young people, older people, whatever, and you kind of put them in a super challenging experience, and then they meet that challenge and kind of out in the world, having the learning be very experiential, it's super empowering.
Yes.
And as I was doing this for years, I was finding that I was working mostly with wealthy students from wealthy families, and honestly, predominantly white.
Yes. And
I started to think, where is everybody else? Why aren't I seeing the full range of students here? And I started looking at education statistics and started to see the educational achievement gap between low income and high income students. Mm-hmm. And when you see something like that, you know that is not on ability alone.
Yeah.
So what is going on there? And that really got me thinking that the kinds of programs I was teaching in and leading, I felt like that those experiential programs would be really empowering for low-income students to give them the confidence, the larger worldview, et cetera, to perhaps be the first in their families to go on and get a college degree. Yeah. And that's where it stemmed from, right? And then I really spent a year researching this, because that's where I kind of come from, that background, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And really talking to educators. And they said, teachers, principals, vice principals, counselors. And they said, there's so many students, Tracy, that we know that, whose face comes to our mind, that we're taking the most challenging courses, doing really well in school, and everybody just thought they were on track to go to college. And then they didn't go to college.
Oh.
And when I heard that, I was like, wow, I was like, that's who I want to work with.
Yeah.
I want to work with the students that are working really hard and they're just not getting whatever it is to get them to do that next step to college, right?
Yeah.
And so I established STEP. I started working with students in 2004. This is actually our 20th year anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. And we started initially, and I hate to say just, but it was a 3-week leadership expedition to Alaska.
Wow.
And when I thought about doing that, I thought, well, what kind of program do I want to get these students out on? And one of the organizations that I had worked with over the years was Knowles. That's NOLS, Knowles. And they are really the leader in leadership training, not only nationwide, but worldwide.
Yeah.
And I'll just give you an example. When all the shuttle things were happening, right? The whole shuttle program, Knowles would train every astronaut crew that went up in the shuttle.
Nice.
And they do a Knowles expedition.
Wow.
Specifically to focus on expedition behavior and working together as a team and all these things. So they are the best out there in that. And so I thought to myself when I was putting this together, hey, I don't need to reinvent that wheel.
Yep.
I've been working with an organization that just does a fantastic job with that. So I reached out to Knowles and I said, would you be interested in partnering with me to bring desert urban kids out to the wilderness of Alaska?
Wow.
And literally, Jose, I just backtrack. If I could have put these kids on the moon, I would have.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was literally trying to get the whole goal was I want to get these students and these as far away from their known world as possible. Because when you do that challenge, right? And then meeting that challenge is huge. And what you and I both know is you can say until you're blue in the face to any young person, hey, you can do anything you set your mind to. Well, we can say that, we can say that forever and they're not going to really believe it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to, any human being has to have experiences that really make them understand that at a gut level. And this is what this kind of experience does.
It's beautiful.
So we started with our first 9 students in the summer of 2005, and it's 3 weeks in the Alaskan wilderness with 3 very trained Knowles instructors. So, really, really an excellent experience. But what happens is in that 3 weeks, when our students first get out to Alaska, I'll just tell you this little story. It's kind of fun. Typically the first day, it's very rainy in Alaska in the summertime. Okay. Yeah. So here we're talking about these desert urban kids going up to Alaska. And the very first day, they spend at the Knowles branch in Alaska and they get all prepared, all the food, all the clothing, everything they need. The next day they take a bus out to Whittier, Alaska.
Okay.
And then they take a boat out to a wilderness beach in Prince William Sound. And, 8 times out of 10, it's pouring down rain.
Yeah.
Okay, so just picture this. Here are these kids from Phoenix and Tucson, Arizona. It's pouring down rain. Yeah. The boat drops them, their bags, the kayaks off on a beach, and then the boat leaves. And they are sitting there, and I have been there because I instructed these courses for the first 10 years. And you can tell on everyone's face they are all thinking they made a huge mistake. Like if I gave them a go home free card, they'd go. They would go. They would leave, right? And so that first week is super challenging, super challenging. Not to mention they're missing home. Not to mention they leave their cell phones at home.
Wow.
So they have no cell phones. And they're learning how to camp and cook and everything in the rain and kayak and that sort of thing. Second week, they start to get it. They start to feel more comfortable. They know how to do things. And the third week is when they're thriving and they're leading their peers. And that real transformation happens. Okay.
Like that.
So super powerful experience. Well, sorry, giving you a long answer here.
No, you're fine. Take your time.
So we did that for from 2005 to 2011. And it was just the expedition, which was hugely empowering for the students. But I was also finding when I asked my students, like, where are you applying to college? Because at that point in time, they really trusted me. We have a relationship. And they'd say, I'm going to apply to my local community college and Stanford.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to apply to my local community college and ASU. Or, they were just like, it's either local community college and one university, right? That they really know of. And it just really struck me. It's like, wow, there are other options out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so through a series of those kind of interactions with my students, I started to recognize that they needed more guidance. And then, so in 2011, what I like to say is jumped in the deep end of the pool. And we established a multi-year college prep, college access program for our students that still includes that leadership expedition.
Yes.
But it's over from their sophomore year all the way through high school graduation.
Yep.
Monthly workshops, guidance on it. We basically become their college parent.
Yes.
We take them through that entire process, and we take their parents through the financial aid process.
Okay.
So now it's just built into just a really comprehensive program.
Yeah.
Guiding students and families.
It's wonderful that you've put this together and evolved it over the years. I think that there's a lot of things that you brought to the table with that introduction. And I love it because, again, it guides the way of our conversation, and it's going to really be fun for me to pick out these little moments here and there. So I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning. How did someone who started off in in the ocean as their background of study end up in the desert? And how did you how did you end up here? Because I'll admit, my wife came here from San Diego because of business, and she started a business, and it evolved, and now it moved from California to Arizona at the time when she was putting it together. So it's interesting to hear stories of how, because there's not a lot of people who come and are from here. Like, I would love to hear your story.
Well, after I got my degree, I actually went out to Miami and was working at the National Marine Fisheries Service. So NIMFS, NOAA.
Yeah.
And was doing coral reef research. Coral reefs were my specialty.
Oh, wonderful.
In the Florida Keys.
Yeah.
And I thought, I like research. I like research. I love being out in the field, right?
Yeah.
But I started to recognize what I also really loved was teaching.
Okay.
And so I thought, gosh, I really want to kind of get back more into teaching.
Yeah.
So I applied for a position at the Biosphere.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's awesome.
Did
you hear about it, or did you know about what Biosphere was or before?
Well, it's very interesting because as I was driving from San Diego to Miami, across the country, I'm driving along and I came across a sign that said, "Oh, exit here for the Biosphere."
Nice.
I thought, I'm going to go check that out.
Yeah.
And it was actually when the Biosphereans were in there. Actually living in there. And I went and walked around the outside of the Biosphere, and I remember seeing a Biospherian like milking a goat.
Nice. That's awesome.
I had that experience. And so when I just started looking for teaching positions, there was a position, Columbia University came in for several years and was running the Biosphere and running an undergraduate program.
Okay.
And so they were looking for staff and teachers, and also there was another program that I helped develop there. So anyway, I ended up getting a position at the Biosphere.
Nice.
And that got me out to the desert Southwest.
Yeah.
And I will tell you this, that when I was doing my research back at Scripps, I was actually doing my research down in Baja, California.
Okay.
On a coral reef down there at a place called Cabo Pulmo.
Okay.
And so I had really fallen in love with both the desert and the sea and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so I was really thrilled to come out to Arizona because I really do love the desert.
That's
what got me out here.
That's wonderful. I love that story because again, you're touching upon these really not so known iconography pieces that are here in the valley or in the Arizona, and it's really, I mean, if you've heard it, like I'm know about the biosphere, and I'm a landscape architect by trade, and it's just one of those things that's like it stands out for me in my background just because it's one of those pieces of like research and development that early on in Arizona was like a standout piece. And so my also background is it's just amazing to hear you talk about the coral reef. So my father's side of the family lives out in Puerto Rico, and so I get to chance to experience that
Nice.
eastern coastal jungle and rainforest life of that when I get a chance to go out to Puerto Rico. And so one of my favorite things, and my dad tells me about it all the time, is the bioluminescence.
Oh, yes.
And yeah, and it being a unique situation when it comes to Puerto Rico. And I've seen it. I remember seeing it once, maybe in person when I was very young,
Mm-hmm.
but I haven't been able to go back at the appropriate time to go see it as an adult. So I would love another chance at that. And I don't know if you've ever had your opportunity to
I
see
have.
something like
I
that
have. I've
yourself.
actually seen it quite a bit in the Sea of Cortez.
Oh,
And yeah.
awesome.
And it is spectacular.
Oh man, you have some cool stories, I bet. And just I mean, the amount of time you get to spend outside too in your research and just your own background, I can imagine just the amount of extraordinary moments that you get in the biological world as well. So that being said, I just was like curious about how your footsteps led you here, and that's wonderful that you had that opportunity for education in the biosphere, and now you're developing these different courses for individuals and their backgrounds. So you come from a really beautiful lineage of like research and development and programming and just wanting to give education an opportunity for all. And I think that's really great because I wanted to ask you this: in your line of family, in your history of family, are there other teachers as well? Because it seems like maybe your parents or your grandparents might have been educators at all.
No,
Oh,
interestingly enough, no.
that's crazy.
My dad, this is good. This is good. My dad was in World War II.
Okay.
I mean, and when he came back from World War II, he was the first in our family to get a college degree on the GI Bill.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
So, and
incredible.
then he was an engineer.
Okay.
My mom was a mom and a homemaker.
Wow.
Yeah. Uh,
So interesting. That's
but he
wonderful.
always, I think my parents really instilled in me like follow your passion.
Yeah. And were you like a outdoors kid that was like getting lost in the
I was an
in
outdoor kid, but I tell you what, I think most people that are my generation,
yeah.
we grew up with Jacques Cousteau.
Oh, that's right. You would
Yeah.
be very
We were watching Jacques Cousteau, and that was a very formative part of
yeah.
why I kind of fell in love with the ocean
Yeah.
and wanting to be
My
a marine biologist and that sort of thing.
Mine would be Robert Irwin, the crocodile hunter.
There you
That's my
go.
generation.
Yeah,
But as you know, again, we're going back to what you brought to the table and just kind of how much you went into the early development of STEP. I just love that one of the foundational pieces is this leadership program. I think being that giving the opportunity to sustain yourself, in a very opportunity we never really get to truly know what it feels like to be the leader of the group and just really be out there in the wilderness and in the natural wilds of life and say to yourself, you can handle this,
absolutely.
you can survive. And so
You know,
foundationally, like that is something incredible because it gives you the encouragement. If you can do this, a lot of the other things in life are just actions that you can also take hold of and be not wary of them. You can actually overcome the fear that's stopping you from putting your resume out there or going to seek other opportunities in education. So I think that's really great.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, our STEP students say, if I can do STEP and I can do Alaska, I can do anything. And they really, And the key thing, Jose, is they haven't been just told that. They actually believe it deep,
Mm-hmm.
deep, deep down inside
Yeah.
themselves because they had this experience that when they first went out there, they didn't think they could handle it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
And by the end, not only are they handling it,
Mm-hmm.
but they're thriving in it, right?
Yes.
And I think it's a great analogy to like them going away from home to college,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
They might go to the East Coast. They might go to the West Coast. They might go in the middle of the country. They
Mm-hmm.
might stay here and be on the campus at ASU. All of those things are going to be such a different world for them.
Yeah.
And for them to be able to kind of recognize, hey, I can feel kind of uncomfortable at first,
Mm-hmm.
but if I stick with this, like I know I can do this thing. Right?
And
That is powerful.
I think that's super powerful. There's so much of my own personal history that I want to get into about with you because I'm a testament of what you're preaching and what you've brought to the table because my own background is that my mom moved us to the Hopi reservation when I was about 12 and it was a critical time in my own development. You're just coming off of making a lot of friends. You're understanding what it's like to be in the school system. You're starting to get your feet underneath you, so to speak, and you're whisked away from. I lived on the East Coast with, near Philadelphia, and moved into this desolate desert reservation, and I didn't know anybody. I didn't know the culture too well, just from what my mom told me and what I had from conversations with my grandfather. And it was scary. It was a tough situation to grow up in, but she did it with the thought in mind of, well, I can't provide financial backing for when I know that you are going to go to college because I know you're intelligent, you're curious, and you've expressed wanting to go to college. What I can do and what I can provide is knowing that the tribe would be willing to help you, but you have to go through the process of being in their school system,
Right.
learning and graduating from the school system. And so with her,
Wow.
understanding that much, she, made the critical decision to move us back to the reservation. And I'm very thankful because it did work for her making that decision. I graduated second in my class. I was able to get a scholarship to ASU, and I went and got help, all of the supplemental help from the tribe as well. So I was very fortunate that my parent and my parental made that decision early on. But along the way, you learn a lot of things. Well, one of the big things that you preach is like being whisked away from that normalcy, the
Right.
comfort that you're used
Yeah.
to. I had to learn that pretty quickly. But also, on top of that, I was still trying to fit in, still trying to understand culture, language, and responsibility.
Mhm.
So that was just a part of growing up for me. And I was able enough to also understand right around junior, senior year that if I wanted to participate and go into secondary education, I had to start researching where I wanted to go and do all the things to apply myself that my record or my outs what I had on my list of curriculars was going to meet their standards and just really understand that. But the only way I could do that understanding of it was there was programs instilled in our high school that we were able to sign up for. One was called College Horizons, and they would bring and
Nice.
resource
Nice.
other colleges from around the U.S. to a very particular campus. Sometimes in California, sometimes in
Yeah.
other campuses around us, and they would shuttle the students to those areas, and we would basically have, I think it was 2-week program,
Mhm.
but still, I mean, getting them out of their comfort area, educating them on the process, what they need to know, how an actual campus looks like. So providing them
Mhm.
an opportunity to be in the actual dorm rooms and other things like that, where it's just like meeting the actual recruiters face to face, looking them in the eyes, hearing from the recruiters what they're looking for. So there was a lot of process time that I had to make up very quickly because that junior year had passed and I was getting into that sophomore year, and it was critical timing that we had to really make up for. So
I love that you're telling that. First of all, how beautiful, how wonderful.
Yeah.
And College Horizons, I know that program it's an excellent program. And I think it has similar pieces to what we do, which is all those things that you just literally, that whole list of things that you said they did for you, we're doing with our STEP students.
Yeah.
We're taking them through every single step of that process. And it's as you know, navigating with College Horizons, it's a big process.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's a long process that I understand why you would want to start at sophomore year.
Yes.
Because it is, again, when you're talking about this kind of big shift in education from high school to college, but it's also, there's still a youthful demeanor mind, and you want to just kind of, help them along this. It takes some time to develop.
It takes some time.
Yeah.
And it also takes, the students taking the most challenging courses they can possibly take at their high school. Because what we know is that shift in rigor from high school to college is huge.
Yes.
And, the best way that you can prepare yourself to navigate that increase in rigor is to take the most challenging courses at your high school. So, if there are any young people out there listening, my advice is whatever high school you're at, take the most challenging courses there.
Yes.
Because that's going to help tremendously in your success in college.
Yes. Can you give us a little bit of the reasoning behind choosing sophomore versus like a junior year start in your programming?
I think it's exactly what I just said, is that we're actually now advising them on what courses they should be taking.
Good.
So, and we're even trying to, in some of our outreach, we'd love to talk to 8th graders, right?
Wow, awesome,
we'd love to talk to, students to say, hey, right now, like if you get a chance to take an Algebra 1 course, take it, because then you're going to be on track to get through calculus in your high school, right?
Yep.
And a lot of schools are looking for that, right? So, it's also then it takes time to expose not only the students, but the parents to the range of possibilities out there. And I should explain that we are huge fans of our Arizona universities.
Yes.
We also want students, though, to know about all the schools in the country. And there's not that many that fit what I'm about to say, that will meet the family's full financial need.
Yes.
They will guarantee, if you get accepted to their school, that whatever your financial need of your family is, and if it's everything, they will fully cover it. So the only schools we work with outside of Arizona are the schools that guarantee to meet full financial need. It happens to correlate to the top ranked schools in the country.
Yeah.
Okay. So both the colleges and the universities. So all the schools we've all, heard about, Princeton, Yale, Harvard, Stanford, et cetera, and then all these wonderful liberal arts colleges that are also ranked similarly, they are going to fully meet the need of the families. And so exposing them to those schools and getting them comfortable, having admission directors come and talking to them, seeing that they're real people, relationship building. Relationship is such a huge part of this equation. I know when our families first come to that first orientation in February of their sophomore year, I know that most of the parents that walk in there are kind of waiting to see what the scam is.
Yeah.
They don't trust it. They're like, what? My child applied. They got into this. Okay, how much is it going to cost me? What is this?
Yeah.
And by the time I would say they walk out of our first orientation, they realize that this is one of the best things that could ever happen.
For sure.
Because we are going to take them through that whole process. And this idea of hey, I can't afford college because my family doesn't have much money.
Mm-hmm.
If the high school student is willing to work hard, they will get to a place where the schools will pay for them.
Yes. I think that I've lived it. I mean, in all honesty, I've lived it. It's a it's a true likelihood that if you are really rigorous with your workload and you apply yourself and even just kind of really show up a lot of the
Absolutely.
times, you're going to be given a good opportunity, if not the full ride situation of having financial backing. It just shows that like those places, especially here in those state schools for Arizona, it goes to show what they're willing to provide and willing to bring in those kind of academic people who want to be a part of the school system or part of the college itself. It goes to show if like you really want it, you can have that opportunity. And I fully believe it. I think it works 100% of the time. You brought up the having the parents come in. I'll admit it being a first generation. It's also predominantly scary for my mother had zero idea of how it all worked, and I
Absolutely.
kind of really wanted her to be along the process so that we were learning together. I can attest now after all the years of both my brother and I going through the college process, that she herself now is taking a course load so that she can get her bachelor's degree years after her two sons have graduated and started their own careers. She's taken it upon herself to know that even though it's later in the years of her own kind of years of education, but she still wants it. She has the urge, and she saw her sons go through the process, and she knows that if they can do it, she can do it. And so
I love that so
yes,
much.
yes,
Jose,
I
and
love it.
I think you speak to the ripple effect of the work we do, right?
Yes,
Because
go in.
it's about generational change through success in education, success in higher education, right? And what we know is we see it. We see so many younger siblings coming through our program. I mean, we've got multiple siblings of multiple families, right, that have worked with us, and we see cousins. We see,
Oh, that's awesome.
we just it's such a bigger ripple. And in fact, even the high school counselors of the high schools that we work in
Mm-hmm.
say that the impact of STEP is so much greater than just the students we work with, because those students become the college mentors and advisors basically for their peers.
Yes.
And so they're like basically, we're advising them and then they're advising their peers.
Yep.
And you see just a larger group of students like really focusing on doing well in school and also recognizing what all the options are out there and where they might be able to apply. And what we say is, in the end, you're going to choose what's best for you, but you absolutely should know what the options are.
That's absolutely. You're preaching to the choir. I am very much like it. It makes sense because as a student who went through the process, and again after I got into sophomore year and junior year, I wanted to continue somehow helping. And so I went as an RA to help, other students to feel comfortable in their first year in the programs so
Absolutely.
that I could then became a TA in grad school when I went to grad school. So my love for it is to see those like myself who are again coming from places that are first generation or new new change in life. You're a little fish in a big pond, and it's scary sometimes that to the point of like detrimental to yourself. You just need a helping hand, and I wanted to be that helping hand because there was others like that for me, and I wanted to continue that kind of pay it forward mentality.
And that is super powerful, super, super powerful. Because when somebody can be mentored by somebody that's coming from where they came from,
Mm-hmm.
there's so much power in that.
Yeah.
And then you're now a role model, right?
Thank you. Thank you.
And you went through the challenging transition that they are going through. And also your kids And the kids of our step students now are going to be going to college. That's the generational shift that has happened, right?
Yeah. And hopefully they bring to light your program, like I think is so amazing and so helpful that to the point of like it should be almost kind of a mandatory with integrated somehow in that high school somewhere. I think it's so helpful because again, people make the comment of like, we were never taught those basic understandings of once you leave the nest, like those fundamental things.
Yes,
Like, I don't even know how to explain it, but sometimes I get the people commenting, I was never learned how to balance a checkbook or anything like
absolutely.
that. And so I feel like if we were given the opportunity into that survival mode, it's it's going to help you. It's going to make you feel stronger. It's going to make you feel more confident that you can succeed in the world at large.
Yes. And Jose, one of the really important things that we do with our students is, one of our focuses is, I mean, sure, there's a lot of just education,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, these are the schools out there. This is what
Yeah.
they will provide. This is what you need to do, et cetera. But there's also this really important piece, which is really working on self-advocacy skills.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that when they do go to these, whether it's college or the career or whatever it is, that they have the skill set to advocate for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes.
Because we know as adults now, we know there's always a challenge. I mean, till the day you die, there are going to be challenges that you're facing at every stage of your life. Right.
Yes.
And if you have the skill set to advocate for yourself, you can navigate those challenges. What I say to our students and parents when they first come into our program is
Mm-hmm.
our whole goal is to become obsolete in your life. Right.
Yes.
Our whole
Yes.
goal is that you can take it from here, that with the skill set and the confidence and the larger worldview and the just the knowledge that we've equipped you with,
Yeah.
you can now navigate those challenges. And that's what I think a really key point of this is, Jose, is not it's about going to college, it's about getting a college degree.
Yes.
That's a very different mindset, right?
Yes.
Because there's a lot of people that go to college and then drop out of college.
Yep.
It's about getting a college degree.
Absolutely.
And we are working very hard in our program while they're in high school to give them that skill set to
Mm-hmm.
be able to navigate those challenges in college, of which there is just a huge list of challenges, right?
Yes.
And be able to navigate to the end and actually get a college degree.
So do you have I guess, a percentage or a number of college graduates from your program that you could
We do.
let us
It's
know?
kind of spectacular, I got to tell you. 96%
Nice.
of our college prep program students are in college or have a college degree.
I love that. It's beautiful. I love those
Yeah.
numbers. That's an incredible number. That's really a testament to what you guys are bringing to these students. It's really encouraging. I mean, again, I look at some of the numbers that I graduated high school with, where it was like less than 50% finished the first semester of
Absolutely.
of school from my area where I grew up. Even further less go on to that critical college post secondary, which is graduate school of some sort. And I truly felt love of the challenge. That was my thing. Of my thing was trying to prove those numbers wrong. And luckily enough, I had the opportunity to beat those percentages, and I'm better for it because of, I don't know what it is inside me, but I have this thing about like challenges and curiosity about the
Yeah.
world. I think that that's what propelled me forward. But at the same time, I couldn't have done it without the helping hand of those who were along the ride with me and guiding me towards that goal. So I'm very thankful and blessed to have those people in my life. But again, if I can help in some sort of, post-secondary school, not being a TA, not being involved in any of like the other programs, it's having a conversation with someone like yourself to share these programs and opportunities with other students and other parents who have high school students that are ready to take that next step and that next leap. This is my opportunity to share those stories because I think it's important. I really do think that having these things along with their own education in high school is going to propel them straight into the stratosphere. 100%.
And also it's gonna put them into the rooms where they should be. They should be the CEOs. They should be the professors. They should be the politicians of our future world, and they should be in those spaces.
Absolutely.
And it's exciting to see our students doing that.
I love it. I think you are so fantastic. You are doing something really incredible. And so I'd love to just kind of get into the weeds with you a little bit of what your yearly schedule or calendar looks like. I mean, someone who is prepping, year at a time, I essentially think for, the different grade levels coming into the program. So what is your kind of whole where you sit at on the organizational table? What does your yearly calendar look like for making
our calendar is so full the entire year.
I bet.
So so students come into our program in their sophomore and they apply to our program.
Awesome,
and so, for anyone out there, the entryway into STEP, for example, is in your sophomore fall. We do outreach every fall and try to reach out to as many students as possible. And they apply, and typically the applications due just before Thanksgiving in November. But you can go to our website, to our apply page. Anybody can go to just even Google STEP Expedition or STEP College Prep. We're going to jump right to the top of that page.
Okay.
And you can go, and we have an apply page. So that's where students can learn more and how to apply and that sort of thing. But so right from the get-go, they're coming in, in February of their sophomore year. Initially we're really just kind of telling them about our program and telling the parents too. And the parents are involved, I will say, not in all the workshops, but in anything financial aid related.
Okay.
But like right away, we start with talking about mental health, to be honest with you.
Awesome.
Because mental health is, something that really has, it's something in my 20 years of doing this, that there's much more of a necessity to make sure students are taking care of their mental health.
Very, very much so. I think as a new parent, that is something that I'm having own anxiety about it with him being so young right now, and just like, what are the steps that I can provide to bring a mental fortitude and give him the opportunities to self-regulate. And, I think as parents, we want just the best for our child. And I have started to realize it's like, well, the best thing I can do is give him the tools to regulate himself and give him the opportunity to, find what works best for him, whether it's, he's young. So it's like teaching him how to breathe deep and take the opportunity to count to 1, 2, 3, and just really give him the opportunity to express why he's upset or why he's frustrated or why he's having
and ask for help.
Breakdown.
And ask for help.
And ask for help. Yeah, absolutely. Never be afraid to ask for help. And,
so we start there, and then it's funny because they walk into our orientation, and one of the very first things we're doing is exposing them to some partner colleges that have residential programs during the summer to go for 2 to 3 weeks at a time, live on a college campus, take a college course. Wow. And they with STEP and working with the colleges, we scholarship those programs. And so immediately, they don't even know what hit them. Immediately, we're saying, hey, we want you to apply to these programs to go spend 2 to 3 weeks on a college campus.
Yeah.
And so that summer, we're focusing on that with them and getting them through that application process. And then working with their parents and this whole idea of going away from home, first time, first time on a plane, all of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so then our students go and have these amazing experiences. Also good for the parents because they let go a little and they see what an amazing experience it was, right?
Yeah.
And then we go into their fall junior year, and junior year is a huge leap in rigor in the academics of a high school student, right? And so we're navigating that whole transition with them. Now they're taking more advanced placement courses, right? There's much more rigor involved. We're exposing them to schools. We have typically at the beginning of every school year, we have about 10 admission directors from around the country fly in to spend a full day with us and our students.
That's awesome.
Really talking about their schools and everything that they have to offer. And, and so our students can really meet people that are going to be the ones reading their applications, right?
Yeah.
And then we're going through and having them do more college research. And we just got done yesterday with a leadership ropes course.
Nice.
Where they're really, again, they're working on team building. They're going high up on a ropes course and doing something that maybe they were initially very fearful of, right? And they get so everything we do is train. We're training, we're educating, we're training, etc. Then they get to the summer before their senior year, which is 36 of our students every year do our signature STEP NOLS leadership expedition in Alaska, 3 weeks, and sea kayaking, right? So on the ocean, sea kayaking.
Yes.
And then they come back and we're putting together college lists. We individually advise students on their college lists, and we're building a list that will give them the highest likelihood for success and the highest likelihood to be able to choose between schools and choose between financial aid awards, right? We're also navigating the whole financial aid process with the parents. We're doing, workshops where the parents are actually filling out financial aid forms, right?
Yeah.
So, and then we've got, I think, about 50 students that have applied early decision to their top school.
Awesome.
So
That's
we're going to be hearing,
Yeah.
we're going to honestly be hearing in the next week or so if they got into those first choice schools.
That's incredible. I wish I had done the early acceptance, but I just did the normal route. But it's like, again, when you have this kind of instilled program that spans more than just 2 years, it goes into that deep fundamental third year. It's so helpful to get on that process early enough to be where you're on the early acceptance. And
Absolutely.
it's just ease of mind too. And the fact that you are allowing students to even go towards those 2-week programs where you're getting an opportunity to step into a campus that might not be in what your purview was, where you're just like, oh,
Absolutely.
I really like this environment. Then this is maybe a place where I can see myself for going to school. It's so many things that you're bringing to the table that allows students to really open their minds and allow themselves to open up to other chances or things that they didn't think would be possible for themselves or their family.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's just packed full. And I also should say the summer before their senior year, we're also doing 2 weeks of focusing on their narrative essays for the college applications and writing narrative essays and what does that involve? And, and then we're going and doing an app once they've completed their application before they submit, we do a whole application review and we give them any advice to make their application even stronger. So we really are, I kid you not, Jose, when I say we are taking students and their parents through every step of this process.
Yes.
And through that too, I think the students and families gain a trust in us. And it's again about relationship, right? And saying, okay, and that's as important for the parents because, a student can get accepted to Harvard, but if their single mom doesn't want them going, they're not going.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you gotta bring the parents with you on this journey. It's very much a family affair. And what we say that to parents when they first come into our program, we said, we want you to even try to schedule your holidays around our STEP workshops.
Yeah.
Because every single workshop has so much information.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
So it's a family affair.
I think it needs to be what you're talking about too. It's like I would being, my parents, when they heard that I was applying to colleges, it's very much like I tried to find programs that they can join me in right after work, and so that they can learn, FAFSA and doing
Yep.
that, and then also just the step by step, I tried to instill telling them what I'm doing, or telling them about what my write up is going to be about my story that I'm going to, hand in. And I tried to get my parents involved as much as I could. I know that it was important because I was asking for financial information
Yeah.
from
You've got to be
them.
willing to give
Yeah.
that financial information.
Yeah. So it's not just the student, it's the entirety of the family, because it is a big part of the whole family to be involved, especially as soon as they get accepted in and they move out. It's still going to be a part of your family. Your parents are still going to worry. They're still going to be connected to you financially. It is very much a combined, thing.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah.
Well, I thank you again for getting into the details of the programming and month by month. I'd love now to kind of shift our conversation to goals and goal settings for someone who is kind of the lead and the head founder and everything. Like, you've gone to celebrate your 20 years doing this program. What are some of the next couple of years looking like for yourself, Tracy?
Well, honestly, I mean, for myself is to continue to pour
Yes.
my
Yeah, I
heart and
meant
soul
step.
into Step, honestly. And because it's just so, oh gosh, it's just so rewarding to see uh, what your work can do.
Mhm.
Um, and then also really think about the ripple effect of that.
Yes.
And really think about our students then being the leaders moving forward, like launching leaders, right? And
Yeah.
launching, um, it's so, I love it so much.
I
And,
mean, you have 100 different stories of success,
oh,
and it's incredible to me. You could probably catalog all of these kids and just, kind of pick one out at random and just get a really great story from them.
oh, absolutely. Just so many amazing stories. We, we do a yearly update with our alumni.
That's awesome.
Because yeah, we really want to know. We feel like it's important for us in our program, but it's also important for those that support us.
Yeah.
For us to really be able to report, yes, our students are getting college degrees,
Mhm.
and yes, this is what they're doing afterwards. So we really, yeah, we've got a lot of stories.
Well, that's great. I'm so our listeners can be hearing you for the first time and not knowing what the future looks like for you guys, but it's always helpful to hear from, I like to say the horse's mouth. To hear it from you is very important and very vital. I always like to also say it's like maybe one of our listeners can be a helpful supporter in the future, and that just goes to show that's like what we can do here on our end just from a simple podcast and
I'll
hearing.
tell you this, Jose. If any of your listeners out there have a passion for uh, education and generational change through success in education,
Yeah.
um, we have spectacular outcomes. And for 20 years, I can honestly tell you, and because I know I'm leading the charge on this, is our whole goal is just to always become better and better and better
Yeah.
at what we do, specifically
Awesome.
for our mission. We're very mission focused. And I think those donors that have come on board with us, we have very long-term loyal donors because they see the impact that we're having. And so what I came to realize years ago in this is when you can bring together, for example, a donor's passion with the passionate work that you're doing, that is just a win-win situation, right?
Absolutely.
Because our whole
100%.
goal is to get, we are focused on Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And we are focused on Arizona students. And our whole goal is anybody out there that qualifies for STEP, we'd love to work with.
Perfect.
Right. And it's a matter of, getting the word out. And it's a matter of funding. We We get no government grants. It's all individual donations and family foundations.
Love it.
And it's really grassroots.
I think what you, again, as someone who is an outsider looking in, I want to say kudos to you and your team and to all the success stories that you have accomplished these 20 years of doing it. And I have no doubt, as having a leader like you at the forefront, at the tip of the point, will only lead to more success stories and more opportunities for STEP to succeed and grow and flourish throughout the years. So I hope that whatever you're doing is just continues forward with all of the other people on your team and allows you to have this long, extensive a culmination of just different things going on for you guys. So I have very high hopes and know that they're going to flourish and you are going to do just fine and continue forward, go on and be that for STEP. And so thank you, Tracy, for your time. I leave this last part of the podcast to let everyone know where you this is your chance to promote. Let everyone know where they can find you online. If there's any social medias or any big events that you want people to come to, this is your chance to promote. So go ahead, Tracy, the floor is yours.
Well, one thing, so I want many things I can say right here, but first I want to just say again, if you Google STEP Expedition or you Google STEP College Prep, we are going to pop right to the top of your screen. Yes. Check out our website. It's really, really great. It highlights some of the stories. It highlights how you can give. One of the things I'd like to, I'm really passionate about this, which is educating Arizona folks. Mm-hmm. Arizona does one of the most enlightened things in the whole entire country, and that is that people can give through the Arizona tax credit.
Yes.
And I think a lot of folks don't really understand what that means. This is when you give to a nonprofit, that's deductible off your taxes, yes. But for those nonprofits and organizations that qualify to receive Arizona tax credit donations, you can literally take the tax that you pay in Arizona state tax, and you can determine how you're going to distribute it among organizations that qualify for the tax credit. Okay.
Awesome. Yeah.
And you can do that. There's 4 different categories. One is qualifying charitable organization, of which STEP is one.
Okay.
Okay. There's also foster care. There's also private school and public school. You can donate to all 4 of those categories, and you can max out your donations. There's limits to each one.
Yeah.
You can max out your donations and take your tax dollar and give it to those organizations. It literally comes back to you directly. Like,
awesome.
It's literally a free donation is what it is.
That's awesome. I love
that. When I first realized this as just a private citizen, I was like, wow, I am going to max out my tax dollars. I'm going to determine where my tax dollars go to all 4 of those categories.
Yeah.
And I do that every year. And I wish I would really like to spread that word.
Yeah.
It truly will come. If you have already paid all your state taxes out of your payroll and you give, it will come back to you as a check.
Awesome.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So, and we have, again, on our donate page, there's a code, there's a tax code number that you would just simply put when you're filling out your tax return to say that you've given to a tax credit donation, or given a tax donation, and then it will come back to you. Literally, so I get a refund check every year.
Perfect.
Okay.
I love that.
So I'd just like to educate people about that. And there's lots of wonderful organizations on that list. And then there was something else I was going to say. We do have Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. And I'm old school, so I'm not really into the social media much, but we really have some great stories on those,
awesome.
In those, avenues too. So, and then finally, if you're a student out there, or you have younger siblings, like, go to our website, go to our apply page. All the information is there. We accept applications of sophomores in high school.
Yes.
In the fall of your sophomore year.
Beautiful. I love everything that you brought today. Was just everything that I was wanting to discuss with you. If if there is something that people can reach out to you, I hope that they will seek you out and reach out to you. We do have a little bit of an outro to us. You can hear every episode of our podcast at findingarizonapodcast.com, all of our social media handles under Finding Arizona Podcast, and we end every conversation with a kisses, hugs, and belly rubs to our four-legged friends. We will see you next time.